I'm getting so tired. I'm getting so.
Y'all know what's going on. It's time for another episode of Doing Time with Joe. I'm your host, Joe Baker. Welcome to the show, y'all. Now look, Mac D is in the VG with his girl Shirley and his mom, right? They're all sitting there. Mac D's about to have a mental breakdown. Tears rolling down his face. His lip is quivering. His mom is sitting there looking at him. She knows what has just happened, and Shirley is numb. She's never seen this side of him. She knows that she hurt him. She knows it. She's feeling guilty. So she eases her hand across the table and puts her hand on top of his, and he looks at her. She has his attention. And she said, "I'm sorry." And he stares at her. And now, let me tell y'all something. The manipulation starts to take place. He puts his hand on top of hers, and he tells her that he loves her and that they were meant to be together. And ain't nobody gonna love her the way he loves her. Now, he's not taking into account that he's not there. He physically can't do anything for her, and he's too emotionally immature to do anything for her from a mental, emotional level. But this is the language that he's learned from his deceased dad. So his mom, she knows that familiar sound, that familiar manipulation. She looks at him and she wonders in the back of her mind, where did he get that from? It sounds like his dad, her ex-husband, or deceased husband. So she looks at him. And now he cuts his eyes to his mom. And the rage that has subsided for Shirley, it almost just switched back. You know what I'm saying, in his eyes. You know how, have you ever seen an alligator's eyes or a crocodile's eyes on TV, on Nature or something like that? Or a shark, the way when they blink their eyes, it's like a coating or a film goes over the eyes when they're underwater. That's kind of like what his eyes did when he blinked them. He blinked and went from white with Shirley to red with his mama. Angry. In front of Shirley, he said to his mama, "You need to make sure everything's straight at the house so she don't have to leave." And she said, "What do you mean, make sure everything's straight at the house?" "You know what the fuck I mean." And she looked at him and she said, "Don't talk to me like that." And he said, "I'll talk to you any way I want to." Now Shirley is shocked. She pulls her hand away. She pulls her hand away from him. She said, "Don't talk to your mama like that." And it was almost like night and day again. When he switched back to Shirley, he talked calm. But when he switched back to his mama, he talked with anger. Anger and hurt in his voice. And his mom was hurt by that. She had heard the rumblings and the boiling up of his father in him before, but he had never acted this out on her in front of anybody. But see, considering the surroundings, he's bouncing around emotionally trying to figure out how to play all the cards that he's dealt. But you got to keep in mind, he's emotionally immature. So his mom, she stands up and she says, "I'm leaving." And she turns and she walks out of the VG. And she tells Shirley that I'll wait for you in the car. Now you can do that when you come to visit. You can wait for somebody in the parking lot or in the lobby until the visiting is over. Then you can leave together. So she left. And Shirley sat there with Mac D, and they continued to talk for the next couple of hours. She kept telling him she wanted to leave, but he kept telling her that he needed her. Right? The manipulation was taking place. The neediness was taking place, and it was almost like within those few hours of them visiting, she was being transformed into somebody that was feeling guilty about what she did, and somebody that was becoming obligated to him. That Listen to what I'm trying to tell y'all. This is all a part of his emotional manipulation that he's not even aware of exactly what it is that he's doing. This is a natural response to him. Well, it has become a natural response for him because this is how he's dealt with all of his problems because of the pattern that was laid down by his daddy when it comes to dealing with women. This is how he was dealing with the women. He manipulates and uses them and discards them when he feels like it. So she gets up and she kisses and hugs him and telling him that she's got to go, but there's something inside of her that's saying, this ain't right. This is not what I want. But she don't want to leave him because she knows he's devastated and she ain't really got nowhere else to go. So she sticks it out. She gets out in the car. She's talking to his mom on the way home and she's tore up. His mom is crying, talking about, I don't know why he talks to me like that. I don't know where he got that from, but she did. She did. She knew exactly where she got that from. She knew exactly where he got that from. Excuse me. He got it from the example that her husband set for him. And I'm finna say something that's gonna sound messed up, y'all. And I need you to hit me up in the comment sections about this. He also got that from the way his mother responded to it. Whatever the justification, whatever her reasoning was, he was learning from it without it being put into proper context. She didn't leave him because she wanted his father there. She didn't leave him because she did like a lot of people. She thought that he would change. And some people do. The people that change are the ones that go get help. Listen to me, y'all. You don't have to go to a therapist, but it's best that you do. But you go to somebody. Other men, we have to hold our brothers accountable, right? And when that happens, those are the individuals that change. But see, Macc D's father didn't change. And she stuck it out with him. And this is how he learned that the way she responded is the way he needs women to respond to him. But he also learned to get that response, you got to be rough over here, manipulative over here, the whole time not being genuine with his emotions, not letting anybody fully in, because if he lets them fully in, it'll break him down because he doesn't really understand what's going on himself. And when you're confused, you distract, right? When you're confused, you distract. You keep people from focusing on you, make them focus on themselves and what you need. So this is how this is playing out. And this conversation that they're having on the way home is getting so deep that they both end up crying, not understanding what it is that they need to do. Because look here, Shirley is just as young as him. So they get home and they decide to just act like it didn't happen. And they go on about their business. But as soon as they get ready to lay down, the phone rings. It's nothing but 15 to 20 minutes before the lockdown back at the penitentiary. But it's Macc D. And he's on the phone. And he calls and he says, I was just checking to make sure y'all got home. Ain't nothing wrong with that. Ain't nothing wrong with that if he would have left it at that. But that ain't what he did. He actually said, did you think about what I said? How much I love you, how much I need you. And she said, I did, and I love you too. But she's saying it just to appease him. Because she don't want to hurt him. She's trapped, y'all. She's trapped. So she said, look, I'm going to get ready for bed. I'm going to let you talk to your mama real quick, and then I'll talk to you tomorrow. He said, I don't need to talk to her. And said, I love you, and hung up the phone, and was done. Was done. And when Shirley hung up the phone, she didn't know what to say, but she told his mom, she said, that was Macc D calling to make sure we got home okay. And his mom looked at Shirley and with tears in her eyes, she said, okay. She knew that he must have said something out of the way because she could read Shirley's face. Again, like I said, she's a young woman too. So the next day comes, week goes by, month goes by, visitation here, visitation there, phone calls here, phone calls there. All of the different things that happen throughout the course of a relationship is taking place. And over time, the grooming of Shirley is getting stronger and stronger. He's turning her into an abused woman without having to put his hands on her. He's making her feel emotionally responsible for how he feels. He's making her feel like if he's down, she should understand why he's down without him having to explain. And if she don't understand, then she's not in love with him like she says. So she tries to anticipate how he's feeling one day to the next. She tries to anticipate how she's supposed to respond to how he's feeling, and it's causing her to lose herself. And when she finds herself in such a state of mind, she seeks comfort in the arms of another man. And Mac D's mother knows and understands this all too well because she did the same thing. When her husband was away and Mac D was at school or somewhere else, she sought comfort in the arms of another man because she needed her own relief from all of the drama and the pain that her deceased husband had been causing her. She had no idea that this was going to turn into such a bad situation for Mac D, but she had to think about herself. It's almost like being in a pressure cooker. You know what I'm saying? And I'm going to explain it like this. It's almost like being in the middle of two walls that are closing in on you, and no matter how much you push out with your arms, it can't help, and they keep closing in to the point to where it's crushing you. She had to find some relief, and she found it in the arms of another man, her next door neighbor. Her next door neighbor would creep over there, and he would talk to her, and before you know it, after 6 or 7 months of conversating and talking and consoling and cheering up and all this and that, she kissed him. And she didn't stop there. And it made her feel good. It made her feel wanted. It made her feel desired. It made her feel something that she was not getting from her husband. And that's exactly what Shirley was looking for. The emotional draining, the emotional manipulation that Mac D was putting down on her, it was working for him, but it wasn't working for her. But when she found somebody else, everything started to make some kind of sense to her. Listen to me now. She's creating a toxic situation that makes sense to her. Doesn't have to make sense to you or me. It makes sense to her. And Mac D's mother could understand that. So when they go to visit, they got a secret that they're keeping from him. They got a secret. Their bond is becoming closer while the wall between Mac D and his mom and Shirley is becoming higher. Becoming higher. And he's finding himself in a situation where he can feel the distance. So he amps it up. And when he's at visit, he tells his girl that you need to be in the house by 10 o'clock, no later than 11 on the weekends, right? Now, a couple of years has gone by. She's 21. She can go in the club legally. She can drink legally. She can do whatever she wants to, but she's still staying with Mac D's mom. And all of the different things that you would want to do as a young adult, a young woman, you know, she's being told she can't do. And the emotional manipulation continues to take place. And then on top of that, he tells his mom, you watch her. I need you to watch her and make sure she's doing what she's supposed to do. I don't want my woman out in the streets. Now, the emotional manipulation that he's practicing on his mother and been practicing on her for years is stronger than ever. Want to know why? Because one day they were arguing in the VG and he reminds his mother of all the things that she let happen to her. How dare he say what she allowed to happen to her. His daddy beat her. His daddy abused her, used her, cheated on her. She didn't allow it. He took it and did what he wanted to do with it. And she thought, wrongly, that if she stayed, he would change. If he stayed, he could be at least a father to his son. None of these things turned out to be good for her. And in the process, it didn't turn out to be good for Macc D, but the problem is this. It made her guilty, made her feel guilty about Macc D's situation, and to make herself in some ways seem to be taking accountability for it and being responsible for it, she would do whatever Macc D asked her to do, even though she didn't feel comfortable doing it. So she started to watch Shirley, but never telling him the full story. Never telling him the full story. But it made the wall between their relationship higher and higher, almost insurmountable. Almost insurmountable. So now, things are getting a little bit more difficult because Macc D can tell when he's not in control. See, a good manipulator knows when he's not in control. So Shirley, yeah, she at the house and she talking, but Shirley and Macc D's mom had figured it out. He gets locked down before 10. He won't know anyway. As long as somebody answering the phone at 6 in the morning when he gets off of lockdown, he'll never know. He'll never know. But see, when you're a possessive person, you run yourself crazy trying to figure out ways to keep track of people. So Macc D hollering at some of the other guys that got girlfriends that are a little older and go to the club, and he'll tell them, you know what I'm saying, about his girl. He said, let me know you see my girl, tell her I said hey and I love her and all this and that. But see, really, he just want them to spy for him. So he gets some information one day from one of the guys that his girlfriend saw Shirley out at the club with some dude. And instead of getting angry at Shirley about the situation, or let me correct that, instead of confronting Shirley about his concerns, he takes it to his mama. And he tells his mama she lying to him. All disrespectful. Telling her she need to let him know what's going on with his girlfriend. So she just asked him, she said, do you want me to put her out? Is that what you're saying? He was like, nah, I don't want her to go nowhere. I just want you to let me know what's going on with her. She said, I'm going to tell you what I'm going to do. He said, I'm going to treat her like I would want to be treated. But I'm not going to be letting you know what she's doing. That's between you and her. Y'all got a grown folks relationship now. And he snaps out. He snaps out. Starts screaming and shouting and yelling at his mother, telling his mother that she better do what he say do, or he gonna have somebody come by there and deal with her, and he mean it, and she better understand what it is that he belong to and who he is, and all of these different types of things. And his mother has no idea that he really can't do any of the things that he's talking about, but fear washes all over her because he's threatening his mother. He's threatening his own mother with bodily harm if she don't tell him what's going on with Shirley. So she hangs up the phone on him and don't even answer. When she hung it up, she took it off the hook so that it would be a business signal every time he tried to call back. And when Shirley came home and she saw the phone off the hook, she told Shirley, don't put it back on the hook because I just got to argue with Macc D and I'm not going to go through that with him again about you. So now she's a little bit upset at Shirley because she's saying that this is all because of her. He wants to try to keep track of you, but use me to do it, and I'm not finna get involved in all of that. And she told Shirley, you might just need to break up with him and leave. And Shirley tells her, I don't want to hurt him, but I am tired of this. Tired of going back and forth like that. I'm not going to keep doing this. So they sat there for a while, and they apologized to each other for some of the things that they said to each other, and they decide that it's time to tell him. It's time to tell him. So they don't put the phone back on the hook that night. They wait. They wait till the next day. And they put the phone back on the hook after 10, and the next morning, first thing, he calls. And if you want to know what he said, you're going to have to tune in to the next episode, y'all. This has been another episode of Doing Time with Joe. I'm your host, Joe Baker, and I say peace, y'all.